Hello and welcome back to AATV Live. In this episode we're going to talk about the state of Airsoft in 2020 and how it got here. So a lot of this is going to be a bit of a historical retrospective from my guests today. Just a few notes before we go on with the chat. Again, we're in lockdown. I'm in a busy house with 3 dogs, 2 teenagers and some noises, so there may be some interruptions. Don't worry about that too much. If you like what we do on AATV, please head over to YouTube, like, subscribe and ding the bell to get notifications if you want to see when we're uploading new videos or new live streams. Okay, so let me introduce my guests for today. You've seen them all before and you liked them so much I brought them all back again. So we have Ben, Gaz and Phil. How are you doing, guys?
How are you doing, Tom?
How are the quarantine haircuts going?
I've had the cut, yeah. My daughter did mine.
Mine's good on the short and sides, but on the top it's getting long now.
So. Ben's not had a haircut in about 7 years.
No, I've got a hat on. And there's a reason for it.
Okay, so today we're talking about, I've titled it The State of Airsoft. Actually, what we're going to do is have a bit of a discussion and a bit of a rant session because the guys were really getting going in the UK legal stream. And I wanted to bring them back because we had to cut it down because we're getting to 2 hours. We're going to talk. This is largely going to be our perspectives on Airsoft and what we feel about it. I'm sure some people are going to get really offended. If you do, that's great. Put a comment, and we'll talk about how offended you're getting. So I'll reiterate that point. This is very much the opinions of us and the individuals about the state of Airsoft in 2020. One of the things we're really going to talk about, though, is how it's got to this point. And these guys have probably getting on for 100 years of Airsoft experience between us, which is a bit mental. So obviously we've got some interesting
You're only counting Gaz, surely, there?
Yes, just Gaz. Gaz was whistling things out of wood and firing elastic bands at people. Okay, so I think a nice way of introducing everyone to you is with our first question, which is how and when did you start Airsoft? So Ben, would you like to lead us off?
Oh, we've kind of gone through this before when we were talking about it a while ago, but basically just through friends, like talking to a friend of mine, as we were saying in a games workshop at the time, and he said, if you kind of like that paintball thing, you might really like coming to play Airsoft. And this is your official kind of clandestine invite into the Airsoft circle. Come and give it a go. If you act like a tit, you won't be asked to come back. But if you enjoy it some more and keep coming. And I got to borrow a gun and away we went from there.
Gaz?
30 years next month. So I was invited again by some mates who had recently started shooting at a gun club, which was our local model shop, which sold airsoft at the time because there were no such thing as airsoft shops. They opened up their back room to do some range shooting. And then later on that sort of developed into, we got some farmers' land. One of the lads knew. He let us start shooting on that once a month on Sunday. That became a regular thing until we moved away from the backroom gun club more towards the shooting each other.
Phil?
29 years for me, so Gaz is the old man here.
He's going to kill you.
Started out when very much the same. It was a model shop. I used to buy the kits and build them and then sell them to my mates in school. And then I started getting until we got caught having a gunfight in the classrooms one lunchtime by the head of sixth form, which led to me being marched to the headmaster's office, but also selling him a Beretta on the way. So it wasn't a total loss, and that's where I got into sales as well, I think.
Okay, I'll come back to some interesting points you guys have made. So I started through Games Workshop in 2000, 2001, can't quite remember. Games Workshop's Sports and Social Club with Mr. Gadge Harvey. The first time I met Gadge was in the foyer, actually, of the Games Workshop Lenton. I was coming in at about 6 o'clock in the morning to get the coach, and this figure emerged and flecked on from the shadows and half terrified me. So in those days, of course, you could pretty much walk down the road with a gun over your shoulder and no one actually batted an eyelid.
And he's been doing it ever since.
He's still at that, actually. He still does the same thing.
So there was a really interesting point you guys made. I think certainly Gaz and Phil, about there being no airsoft shops, and also about assembling guns. Do you want to lead off, talk a bit about that? Because that's really interesting. Some of our viewers will be like, "What?"
Go on, Phil.
So I had a lot of Academy kits. So if you're into scale model as well, Academy make a lot of like 148, 132, you know, the scale model kits for planes, trucks, you know, whatever. But they also did airsoft guns. So I had an M16 with an M203 that launched a little foam shell, AK-74, and they were all Springers. So they were single shot,
Wow.
really not that powerful. But they cost 20, 30 quid.
And
Take about an hour and a half to build.
So these were like plastic kits, and you had to assemble them.
All plastic. Yeah, you couldn't get any spare magazines for them.
Phil, sorry, Phil. When you say 20 or 30 quid, is that using new money? Have you done the conversion on the fly? Or was it old money that you paid in?
It was 3.5 groats and a bag of flour, I think.
Pounds, shillings and pence.
Expensive one. Yeah. I might have put down a cow for the really, really nice M16, just as a collateral. They were kits, and I was 12 when I bought my first one. I just walked into Bagnall's in Stafford. Anybody who knows the area will remember Bagnall's. And they also sold the plug-fire cap guns as well, so I bought a couple of them. And I was 12. There was no, what are you going to do with it? It was just, yeah, there you go, 30 quid, please. That was it. And then I walked out with it, with the box, with a picture of an AK on it. That's probably one of the few times I've bought an AK, just in case anybody thinks that I've turned somehow ARs. I just walked to the bus station, got the bus back home, sitting with it on my knee. Nobody batted an eyelid. Built it. Then used to run around my street in Eccleshall, shooting at things, people, friends, obviously. Nobody called the armed response units. People were just like, boys. And that was about it, really. But yeah, they were kits. As I got a little bit older, so then I remember very distinctly buying a lot of Marui Springers from Sussex Model Company.
SMC.
Yeah, I remember having the Cougar, the Beretta Cougar, and the Ruger P85.
That was a good pistol.
It was really good. In fact, I kept it. I still had it when I got my first AEG, which was a Marui M4A1.
Sorry, Phil, did you just say Ruger then?
Yeah.
Is it KP45?
P85.
KP85.
That's actually the first airsoft gun I ever got as well. And that would have been probably, I would have said pre-2000 or around about 2000. Yeah. And we bought it from, Antics in Plymouth on a bit of a family holiday. And my dad quite liked the look of it. And I seem to remember it being pretty bloody powerful, actually. It had a bit of a tank in it.
Yeah, it was a nice little gun.
What you don't realise is that Marui, when they first hit the scene, they brought out their pistol range, which were all spring. There was no real decent gas pistols back then, and gas blowback was a thing way in the future. So we were using spring rifles, which were primarily Tokyo Marui MP5s, because they could be racked and fired very quickly. And we had Marui pistols. The Marui pistols are spring. They come in 2 grades. They come in normal, which was a silver box, or tan. Tan, which was the high grade, was basically anything with a big magazine. But hop-up versions come in a tan box.
Yeah.
We all stuck. They were. It was 25 quid for a normal one and 35-ish hop-up one.
And I remember getting the XM177 Springer as well. That was
with the
great.
fold charging hand.
You could rack it from underneath the handguard.
Yeah.
They had a little fold down lever so you could rack it quickly.
Wow.
Yeah, the M16 was the same too.
Yeah.
How often did they break though? Like, you know, we think about springers now breaking, but it's like
no,
never broke one.
So was there any formal skirmishing, or was it all just, as Gaz says, kind of like arranged to meet on some land? I mean, when was the kind of first formal skirmish that you guys attended?
First one I went to, so I live in the Midlands, and the first skirmish I got to go to was in Reading. That was how far we had to go, and that was probably early 90s. So I'd been running around the woods and that with my mates for years already, but the first skirmish was, I think it was Rebel Troop at
Chasey Wood.
Yeah. And I just remember leaping over a foxhole, and I got my first proper gas blowback pistol. It was a Maruze and Walther PPQ, or PP, whatever they were. And I shot this guy in the nuts, and it was really hot, and I was using green gas. Nobody chronoed anything. There was no chrono. Yeah, and I just remember him doubling up, and that was my overriding memory of my first day airsoft, a proper airsoft at an organised site with people I didn't actually know. But there was still only about 25, 30 people who did literally all, and the guy I was with, he got the invite, and he invited me, so everybody was kind of connected.
Yeah, okay. So my first game was, like, as I say, 2000-ish at the old Phoenix Woodland. So it's kind of, you know, a right old latecomer to the scene compared to you two guys. And I hired I hired a Marui AKS 47, I think. I didn't really care. I just got given a, you know, classic thing with a battery bag underneath the foregrip and a big old bat. You know, that was sort of, and loads of tape around it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's actually a guy in the chat on YouTube, Jamie. He started probably a year or two after me at the same gun club in the same model shop. And I've known him ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's in the chat chiming. And he still plays too.
Okay, so let's move forward a bit. So we got some slightly more established skirmishing. And what were the games like when you first started playing? So what was were there objective scenarios? What was the kind of style of game that was played back then?
It was very much we're reenacting military style scenarios. So whether it was like defend a village, attack a village, whether it was for the early CQB sites like Fireball CQB at Sandvik in not Handsworth, but yeah, they're very much like the hostage rescue. Your typical sort of military scenarios. There was it was definitely more maybe some film orientated stuff. So if there was a story from a film that might be incorporated, but generally what you've got to remember is that the people that were organising the games were the players. So even when it became organised, so early on Rebel Troop at Chasey Wood or Fireball Squadron, when they first opened in, I think it was 97.
98. And Fireball are still run by the members.
Yeah, I was there.
Completely non-profit.
Okay.
I'm still an honorary member, I think.
I think you are, actually.
We were there for the opening day, and he'd been playing at our site before then. But it was, the games came up with the players, so you didn't have a set group of people who was on the day who were saying, right, this is my scenario and this is what we're doing today. Basically, everyone was stood around loading their magazines, and we go, what should we do next then? Well, how about we try this? And that's how games were done. Okay. So you didn't have such a set playlist as what you might have on sites now.
Can I just raise a question there regarding that? Because obviously back in the day there weren't that many sites. How much distance did you usually have to travel to get to a site compared to nowadays? I mean, I know that a lot of the stuff you do, Gaz, is quite specific, and me and Tom have been on some fairly specific jaunts along with our friends. But like the whole travelling thing seems to have died down a little bit. People are like looking for a local a lot more. Yeah. But it sounds like you were going for some distance to get to a site.
Yeah, I think Sopley was the furthest I went to regularly, which was miles away. Reading used to go to quite regularly. Reading. And then when I discovered Fireball, which I've been a member since 1998. Played at Sandvik quite a lot, and at the Woodland site in Bassett's Pole. And even that, still probably about an hour away from me. But I try to go every month. But there are sites much closer. I've got a site, West Midlands Airsoft is 20 minutes away from my house. So there is a lot more choice. I mean, there's a huge amount of choice.
So around here, there's probably 5, 6, 7 sites within 45 minutes. And when I started, it was. So for me, I started up Phoenix, and then when the Light Fighter opened, when there was a bit of a player Marshall split, a couple of the guys went off and formed Light Fighter. The